we don't know what's going on, but we do know that these. Oh, I know what. Hand me that book. Yeah. Hand me that book on the top shelf. It says, "Where did the towers go?" It's.
Oh yes, we've done a whole thing on that.
Oh, you have. I just want to point out what the satellites, weaponized satellites, can do. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have that. That's a brilliant book.
Now, have you interviewed Judy?
We've interviewed a guy in England called Andrew Johnson who has Judy around, and we've done a whole program on it.
Okay, good. Because I know Andy and Judy.
You
and,
know Andrew Johnson?
Yeah.
In England.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good bloke.
We've got dragons on the table and crystals. What does all this mean, the real John Lear?
We have them to eat Nassim, who's...
This is shocking.
We just have our...
He makes his own crystals, and they are... The point with the crystals, they streamline energies.
Right.
And so the...
Okay, we've heard enough about that.
Yeah.
So
but
let's
the dragons,
let's hear something about this.
Okay.
And the crystals, your mother's?
Yeah, the crystal I gave to my mom many years ago, and then when she passed away, I took it and put it down here for my dragons to guard.
And do you have names for your dragons?
No, no name.
Do they need feeding?
Pardon?
Do they need feeding?
Yeah, that's what we're waiting to do with Nassim.
Well done.
Okay, John, secret space programs.
Okay, this is an example of what those orbiting, 24 orbiting satellites that we put up there. Incidentally, in addition to the 24 orbiting satellites, we've got 2 command and control, and this is run by SPAWAR, or the Navy operation. If you tune in on the web, just dial in SPA WAR, SPAWAR, and you'll see everything that they do. Anyway, of those 24 satellites, some of them have different technologies. This technology is called molecular dissociation, and what it does is disassociates the molecular composition of a property, either a steel or steel and concrete, down to dust. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't stop there. It goes on to nothing. That's why, and that's called non-self-quenching. That's why when we see the World Trade Center, that we see a big, huge pond there, because the original project idea for the World Trade Center was to build buildings right there, but much bigger, much taller, and everything. But everything they put up there immediately decayed. Rust would rust the steel almost instantaneously. Within a couple days, it would just rust to nothing. So they had to move a pool there, and that pool is trying to absorb the non-self-quenching abilities of whatever they did, because this was the first time that they'd fired it at that huge capacity. So now when you have a look down on there, you'll see the buildings and then the water in between.
So we hope the
new trade center is going to keep standing.
It'd be interesting to see what's going on. I haven't followed it really that closely, but it should stay up.
So what sort of further use would they have with such technology?
For what?
What further use would they have with such technology, having used it on 9/11? Where do you think this is taking us?
Well, it's a combination. It's not only weapons. They can, along with HARP, they can make and motivate, guide hurricanes. That's how Hurricane Aaron got up to 100 miles off the coast during 9/11. 6 days before, they generated it and then walked it up the coast, and it just sat there. And they used part of the hurricane as the force for what they're doing with the molecular dissociation. Now, I don't know how they do it. That's what we're working on to find out. That's what they've figured out, but I haven't figured it out yet. Same thing with Katrina. They made Katrina and got it boiling and everything, and then walked it right straight into New Orleans for whatever purpose. It was a social experiment or whatever they wanted to do. And then, of course, Oklahoma City, the Mira building, they did the same thing. You can take, I think there's a photo in here that you can put right next to the photos of the World Trade Center, and it's the same identical damage that was done at the Mira building as was done on 9/11.
So the explosions on 9/11, what was that about then?
Which ones?
The basement?
The explosions in the building before it fell, and they've been reported by many.
Yeah, I've seen. You can see them go pop, 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 pop. I don't know what they are.
The extra measure to make it fall.
But did people see planes, or what did they see?
If they saw a plane, it was a holograph because there was no real planes there.
As a pilot, is it feasible for somebody to fly a jet aircraft in the way that those 3 planes flew?
Not the first time. If he had practice, like 4 or 5 times, he could have done it, but not the first time.
Now you support, or you mentioned something about the pilots for 9/11? Truth for 9/11, is that right?
Yeah, Pilots for Truth 9/11. I'm a core member of that, but the problem was they will not consider that there were no airplanes, at least the management. Now, maybe some other people do, but I consider that I'm what you call a no-planer. There were no planes on 9/11, but people have a hard time believing that, and I don't know why.
Well, they all saw it on TV. It must be real.
And not only that, they heard it.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And I saw it on TV. Therein lays the problem. People think they see it on TV, it must be real. They saw the moon landing on TV. I saw it. I watched them get out.
I know people who were down there who saw it flew in to the building.
They saw it.
I believe it could have been a hologram. But
You believe what?
I believe it could have been a hologram.
Yeah.
But I know people who said we saw it flew in, standing on the ground, and we heard the sounds. So it's not like it's only made for TV. It's bigger than that, in case that's true. But I also can tell you that Russell Targ, he told me back at the first, when I went to the convention, the UFO convention, I asked him about this, and he said this was a hologram. He said, and I couldn't believe it, but now there are more people saying it.
Well, the point is, how can they project holograms of that size?
And therein lies the problem, because people are, when you say hologram, they're thinking of a Walt Disney little pixie dancing around in a little darkness area. That's all they know about holograms. They don't know that 20 years ago we could project a hologram with heat, noise, light, speed, anything we wanted, anywhere. And we use that on 9/11. Right now, the television industry is ready to bring out television quality programs that you could put right on your desk, and you have a little little thing here. You can raise it up like this. I mean, you can enlarge it. You can bring it down to small. You can move it over there. You can move it over there, wherever you want, and it looks just like there. And you can stand all around it and see from all sides. And the Japanese, a year ago, announced that not only do they have that, but they have it. They have touchy-feely 3D holograms that you can touch it. 10 years ago, they invited 30 of the top TV industrials, producers and stuff, and similar to that, they took them into a small theater that accommodated about 40 or 50 people, and sat them down, and they said the future of television. A normal light like that, the lights didn't go out, and the guy comes from behind the curtain. He looked maybe well over 60, white hair, glasses. When he started talking, is obviously Eastern European with an accent. He started talking about the TV, how the tubes were initially made, the cathode ray tubes, and how it developed into this and that and so on. And as he's talking, he gets off the podium, walks up one aisle, down that aisle, looks at the audience, takes off his glasses, cleans them, walks up one aisle, down another aisle, gets back up on the podium. Everybody, by about this time, everybody's getting bored of stuff they've already heard. And he says, I want to thank you very much. And then just turned him off like that in front of everybody.
Wow.
It's just like what you're saying, but this is what they can do, but they can't bring it in right now because it's too close to 9/11. People are going to associate, when they were yelling at John Lear, 5 years ago saying this was possible and saying it's impossible. There has to be a screen. There has to be a crackdown. There has to be something we can project it on. It's bullshit. They don't know what's going on or how things develop, so.
John, I'm disturbed.
What?
I mean, Nassim and Anna, how can her paradigms, but tell me this, John. Who on earth could possibly disagree with anything you say?
Nassim?
Nobody I know. They totally agree. Of course.
And what do you feel about these guys? And you have fun.
Yeah.
That was a question, not a statement.
Oh, what was the question? How do I feel about it?
The bad guys, these people who do this kind of thing.
What stuff?
Oh.
How do they get the stuff up there? Who's going up there? What's actually going on?
I don't know that much. How they get it up there is, when the shuttle used to go up, they always, it only takes 11 minutes to orbit. But we always took 3 days. And everybody wondered, why does it take 3 days? Oh, well, because there's union regulations. We've got to have sleep periods, at least 2 8-hour sleep periods, and then this, and then we give them off time and everything. And then what they're doing is they're taking up that half the cargo full and passing it off at the different satellites that are in operation. Plus they have extra people on the the shuttle. It was built for 10 people. We only saw, at the most, we also saw 7 go up. It probably takes 15 people, and they would drop them on the way up. Now, 2 days before the shuttle went up, what happened? They'd send 2 Russian rockets up to the ISS. And so when the shuttle got to the station, they'd be there for 10 days, and they would show us the cargo in the shuttle when it got there, and it's only half full. All that other half was stuff they let off. So now the stuff that goes on, and we had on livingmoon.com, we had the lists of the what was put on board the Vostok, or the Russian rockets. And there would be fruit, food, parts, and a lot of other stuff. So what happens up on the ISS during that 10 days, they'd put all this stuff that was on the Vostoks into the shuttle after it was emptied. And then when the shuttle was launched to come back here, it should take 54 minutes to come down and land at Kennedy. But it always takes 2.5 days. Why? Because they're dropping off all this stuff that was brought up by the Vostoks to the other satellites that was brought up by the Vostok, or whatever the ship was. And that's what takes so long.
But we don't have a shuttle anymore.
So how's it been done?
Oh yeah, we have the 3 rockets that have been a man approved for at least 10 years that I know of, and man approved means that they're safe enough to send astronauts up in them. And we have the Sea Launch, Delta, and there's some others. I didn't have my folder, but there's 3 or 4, and we launch every day. There's 24 launching sites. The public knows about Vandenberg, Kennedy, and there must be one other one. But there's an additional 20 launch sites all around the world that we use just specifically to keep the public from knowing about all this stuff that we launch.
What part does NATO play in secret space program?
Don't know.
None?
Yeah.
So the NATO partners are not being involved in any of this?
I wouldn't think so.
in Norway, there's been this big discussion because the government had decided that we are going to buy 24 some stealth technology from Lockheed Martin. A big discussion because these planes were triple the price of everything else. And what we hear is that it's so unclear what works and what doesn't work, and they do experiments and it doesn't work. But still, the Norwegian government keeps paying huge amount of money, and you wonder, is this just dropping money for?
It is. That's all it is. It's for nothing, because stealth, was built against certain types of highly developed Russian radar. But that's not all the people have. The people might have some old piece of junk, which can see. You can't protect your airplane against all types of radar. So the problem we had in Bosnia is the people that were tasking the stealth fighters. They thought they were really stealth fighters. I mean, they thought they were invisible. So they sent them in during the daytime at 10,000 feet, And of course, you can look up and see it. It's not that stealthy, And that's where the guys got shot down. But, what would Norway need an airplane for?
Well, that's a very good question, because we have a very different policy in this regards than, for example, America. We don't need. We never want to attack.
Right. Who are you protecting yourself against?
Well, the old paradigm would say we need to attack us against the Russians, but
that's not good anymore. We were
that's
allies.
not good anymore.
We were friends and allies of the Russians since after World War II, and always have been. We were allied together on the space program. We took the moon, they took Venus, and it was all to keep the public's attention directed towards this supposed Cold War instead of what was really going on. And what was really going on was a secret space program and other things that Russia and the U.S. did together.
Okay, going back to World War II and the weapons-grade material used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what really happened with the German technology and what happened with the German saucers and all that stuff?
Okay, what happened
referred to the recent work of Joseph Farrell.
Yeah, what really happened is with the weapons-grade plutonium, we couldn't produce that. We could make the mechanism of the bomb.
Well, what about the bomb that went up that we all saw in the cinema at the time?
In the where?
In the cinema. We didn't have television. What about the first big explosions? We all saw those nuclear blasts.
Are you talking about in Japan?
No, I'm talking about the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. We couldn't produce the plutonium, but we could produce the mechanism. Whereas Germany...
Yeah, but we saw them blast. We saw that... Okay.
Was that after?
Okay, just let me finish. We couldn't produce the plutonium, but we could produce the mechanism. Germany could produce the plutonium, but not the mechanism. They realized they were going to lose this war, so they came and asked for a deal. We'll give you the plutonium if you'll let us in after the war. And we said yes. So they gave us the plutonium, which we used at Trinity, and then at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. That was Nazi plutonium. And then we started letting them in after World War II.
So the deal was made in 44 or 43 then?
What?
The deal between Germany and America was done before the war ended. It was done in 44.
Yeah. Yeah. The details of that are in Jim Marr's book right over there, and he deals that not only the negotiations, but exactly how they transferred it, the plutonium.
And what about the anti-gravity stuff that some people are referring to? The John Irwin book refers to flying saucers in the Syrian desert in 1958, 59. Other people are referring to a funny, there's a current movie out called Iron Sky, which is a comedy about how the Germans survived World War II, had an Antarctic base, and then established a lunar base. What about that?
I'm sure that my dad, being part of the anti-gravity system in 1952, continued through until 1956. I think that was the completion of the program, and yes, they had anti-gravity, and all they did was refine and make it better and better and better. So the stuff that we saw in 1958, 1959 was the culmination of the anti-grav that we were doing.
Bearing in mind Syria is where most of the German gold apparently is buried.
Really?
Yeah. They smuggle it out in little small trinkets. It's a different gold, different grade of gold. Now, we use the term anti-gravity. It's not the right term. What's the actual drive mechanism? What does things actually push against or pull against?
Somebody told me that the other day, and I can't remember what it was. Somebody said, it's not anti-gravity. What is it? And there's a neat word, and I can't remember. I'll email it to you. It's just canceling out gravity. It's just no gravity. Go ahead. What?
To do with the fabric of space-time. When we live in a multi-dimensional universe, and the astronomers observe it with a two-dimensional instrument and get an accurate representation of what's out there.
Yeah, well, everything in our solar system is is a let me see if I can get the right word. Is a illusion. It's not really here. This is just an illusion for a place for us to learn and to grow and to mature our souls. Once you get out of the solar system, everything has changed. There's not one mathematical formula or color or anything that is the same after we get out of the solar system. But right now, everything in here, for instance, if we think we're going out in time, and I was out at Alpha Centauri. That's not true. We were bypassed, and we stay right in here in the solar system while all this is going, while we're maturing. It's built specially for us.
By whom, and what about these shielded planets?
By those guys, I don't know. The guys that made us, I don't know. It goes so far up, I don't have any clue. The shielded planets, there's 40 planets within our solar system, and there's some closer than Pluto, some further away. And they hide them in several different technologies. One is mirrors, and then there are other technologies, and I don't know about those.
What about the Russians being given Venus, you mentioned?
No, we split up the tasks to do space-wise, and we said to the Russians, they agreed to photograph Venus while we were working on going to the moon. In other words, we didn't waste our time and effort going to Venus.
But since we didn't go to the moon, what's really going on there? And what about the bases on the back of the moon?
You know, the back of the moon, I wish I could show you some pictures. There's some great, I'll show you some other pictures on the back of the moon. I don't know why people say that. It's so full of towns and cities and factories and everything. When people say bases on the back of the moon, I think of a barren wasteland with just one little fortress back there, but it's not. There's just so much going on. This picture up here, you just look at it and you can see roads and buildings and all kinds of houses and all kinds of stuff up there. And then we'll walk around and show you some other.
You need a close-up.
You want to go up there?
We'll do that later. I'm right
Okay.
I'm looking right at that right now.
Well,
So bases, you think of a little fortress. It's not like that. I mean, there's huge cities like that, and you have to laugh when people, say, well, Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. Would he touch down on one of those streets there and just, it's crazy.
I don't see any streets there. Where is this? Can we get
We'll have
into
to get
that?
up close. You can't see it from where you are.
when you talk about the solar system, are you talking about the local solar system,
Right.
our sun? And
As far as Pluto.
as far as I've learned, the Milky Way is kind of a spin-off of the Andromeda galaxy. Is that to your?
Milky Way. The Milky Way is our galaxy.
Yeah.
Andromeda is another, million miles or
Yes.
1,000
Still,
million?
it's a spin-off. The other was originally the Milky Way was part of the Andromeda galaxy.
Yeah.
Who somehow moved away for some.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about just as far as Pluto.
And Nassim's explanation for this is quite elegant.
No, we've had that scene.
Yeah, but off the camera, I can say this, can I?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
And that is the fact that what is considered solid is actually 99.99 in some degree nothingness or space between molecules or protons and things. So we are basically nothingness, and the fact that we are moving with the speed of light between in and out of reality. So we don't notice this. That's why, and this technology can, in a higher technological culture, be used to move instantly from one end of the universe to another one.
Thank you, Anna. Go ahead.
You men are so arrogant, you know.
God,
Just
I'm falling apart.
so you were meant to see that, you know,
Yeah.
to impress you or something.
That's cool.
So, and I'm sure a few others have got access to this kind of technology.
Yeah.
And he is a conspiracy theorist. Ramon.
Well, you know, Poof won't take him to Mars, but
Yeah.
So funny to see. I love this thing.
Yeah. I'm just
you
trying-
love what?
I love these the explanation because
Oh.
it's so elegant,
Mm.
and it makes you understand things, and it's very coherent with what you observe in nature and everything. So
What's she talking about?
I'm talking about this
Nasty.
new-
Right.
the resonance project.
Yes, we're not talking about that. We're with John Lear, and we're going to close this
Yeah, well,
wonderful time with John, having a good time.
we're listening. He's going to play it for us.
What the real John Lear infers that there may be other John Lears who may masterfully mimic your extraordinary abilities. Is there anything behind that?
Mm-mm.
No, there isn't.
What about cloning people? Have you any?
Yeah, I told you that Cecil told me that he said, "What do you know about cloning?" And I said, "Nothing." He says, "If you could just be a little mouse in my pocket, you can't imagine what we've got going over in Saudi Arabia." And so he and, you know, obviously Solemn had showed him something, but Solemn died a couple of years ago. He really loved to fly these ultralights, but he was crazy pilot. He knew nothing, you know, barely got every place he went. And he died taking off at, and he loved to fly at sunset. And he hit some wires in Houston and died. But he was the half-brother of Osama. And he did he had a lot of things going and had access to a lot of secrets. So
So
Have
we
you
were.
been told by someone that how to behave, or have they been after you?
So concentrating on this final moment about the Super Soldier program.
about what?
The
Super Soldier, yeah.
Super Soldiers. What do you know about the Super Soldier program and the mass cloning that you just referred to? How widespread is this? What's going on there?
I don't know how widespread is it. I know there's in the hundreds of thousands. I know they keep them in Saudi Arabia. I don't know whether they've used them or not, but I was certainly interested in the bases video. The two girls from what were they? Norway.
Madness in the Fast Lane.
The what?
No, Sweden. They were
Sweden.
Swedish.
Swedish. Yeah, that was
Twins.
an interesting story.
Yeah, I felt that was a demonstration of a technology in plain sight, and must therefore have had some kind of a weapon strategy. Because you don't demonstrate a weapon system unless you've got some person who you want to see it.
There's another aspect of this conspiracy, and that is the. Don't want to bring in the secret societies and all that, but there are these secret bases underground for special chosen or super rich or somebody. And one of them was in Colorado underneath, and there was one in Washington and so on. And not long ago there was this earthquakes that was shallow. And they were seen, the rumors has it on the internet that they were destroyed. Do you know
That's
about
a story we heard. I don't know whether it happened or not, but we have, at least 50 underground secret bases. As far as cities, the higher ups in the United States, for some reason, have made plans for some disastrous thing to happen to the United States. They obviously believe it's going to happen because they've made a lot of plans and things, roads, railroads, underground cities, storing of food, all that stuff underground for whatever's going to come. You know, I don't think any's going to come myself, but this is what they've been planning for.
Apparently by
Well,
some
this is something that
earthquake.
David Wilcock has come up with, but it came. We initially in England found that there were a number of explosions, instant seismic disturbances, not a gradual quake, and these occurred in areas which are known to, or rumoured to have, underground bases of some description. That's namely in Cumbria, South Yorkshire, Cornwall, and Kent. Basically, 4 points in England.
Yeah, interesting.
They were all roughly the same depth and all roughly the same power, which was really determined by where the sensor was which picked them up.
Yeah.
And this was happened about a year before any of the stuff happening, or a good 9 months before anything was happening in the US. And subsequent entirely circumstantial evidence implies there is some kind of an ET or non-human, strictly speaking, not necessarily ET, but a non-human source or origin to this kind of technology. Do you have any words on non-humans versus ETs? The difference. Ancient Earth races.
No, I don't.
No.
What about the Norwegian spiral, so-called?
Those were really interesting. Oh boy, I like
In your
those.
opinion, what
No.
was that?
I don't know. What were they? Let's ask Nassim.
A bifilar Tesla spiral.
From
Nassim has an absolute ironclad answer to that one, right?
No, you're talking to the wrong person.
Okay, John, well, let's go walkabout and see what's going on
Okay.
with some of these wonderful pictures.
Can I unplug here?
Unplug, yeah. We'll go local.
See,
Oh,
here
yeah.
this road comes down here,
Yeah.
and the road here, and then all these little houses and buildings and what Nancy's done.
Looks like Vegas.
Those are, those are factories where they've taken a little black and taken off some corners, strategic corners, so you can't make a building out of it in your eyes. But right here, all this stuff there, look at those roads there. Now, these long, straight ones, those are where they join the
pictures.
yeah, the pictures.
Yeah.
So those can't be counted.
No.
But these, look, goes
Yeah, I
down
can see
there.
that, yeah.
Here's a little airplane waiting to be flown. Factories, all that stuff. And
Yeah. There's some angles here that's not.
now
nature.
over there, that was in 1968. I was flying a Cessna to Australia, and I lost an engine. I had to come back under the bridge, so it was a slow news day, and they took pictures of this Cessna 320 flying under the bridge.
You're talking about this? The top? Which one?
The top with those newspaper articles.
Yeah.
And this is my special operations. I've been a member of that for like 30 years. And it's just a group of former special ops guys that meets here in Las Vegas every year. And then over here,
Where are we? I'm not
up
following
here,
you.
this was Geneva, Switzerland, the Weekly Tribune. That's when I got my aerobatic license. It says stunt pilot at 17. And this over here is, I was flying in Cairo, and the airline was called Air Sinai. And that's my crew with me. This is at the top of the Matterhorn, and this is my certificate for climbing the Matterhorn, August 7th, 1959. And this is Everest, and this is Everest, and this is the Hillary Step right there.
Yeah.
And just because I'm interested in that, I had that picture, but I was never there. Yeah, Alice I met in Geneva, actually outside of Geneva. And this is Air Sinai, this is in Paris, this is the Lear jet. This is flying a Grumman TBM. This is climbing down Sinai. The climb up is just a road you walk along around the back. And then when you come down the steps of St. Catherine's. And those steps they built, and I took those pictures walking on down. This is the MiG that intercepted me up by the Kuril Islands when I set the round the world speed record. And this is when I flew the...
Well, tell us more about the round the world speed record.
1966, I went with 2 other factory pilots and a NAA observer. And we left Wichita, went to Bradley Field, St. John's, Santa Maria, Barcelona, Istanbul, Tehran, Karachi, Colombo, Singapore, Manila, Osaka, Shitosi, Shemya, Anchorage, Seattle, Los Angeles, to Wichita. And we did it in as a total elapsed time of 65 hours and a flight time of 50 hours. And in 1966, that was a big deal, but anymore, I mean, that record's been halved. This is in Afghanistan. This is at the runway in Kandahar. We used to have to land there and get gas sometimes, and then we go on to Kabul. And that top picture is flying forget what that temporarily slipped my mind. This is with Jack Conroy. He designed the Pregnant Guppy, but this is a DC-3 with 3 engines, and he was going to sell it to the Philippine Air Force, and I navigated it over to the Philippines with him, and he sent me that picture. I got a bunch of pictures around. We went from Santa Barbara to Honolulu to Majuro to Guam to Clark Airport. No, to Manila International. This is flying a 707 for Trans-Mediterranean Airways. This is flying in a Lockheed F-104. I got checked out in 1997. That was our first Mach 2 jet, and it's always been my favorite. And I just happened to have a friend that had one, and he let me check out in it. And that was great fun. I got a videotape of it. This is Budapest, 1977. That's the chain bridge that we got briefed in the middle of it, where we were going into down in Somalia. And that's the B-26. Well, above that is one of the secret airplanes. That's the one that uses the pop-top dethermalizer technology that allows it to be not called a rocket and allows us to transfer more people up and down than we're normally supposed to. This is the B-26 that I flew in the Reno Air Races. I actually passed a P-51, and that was in...
Which is what, sorry?
This.
The B-70s.
B-26. Actually passed a P-51, and this is the Khartoum operation. That was Hank Wharton. He's the guy that we worked for, and this is Joe Weber, my engineer, and this was a Khartoum, or a Sudan co-pilot. And this was taken in Cairo, and that's in the cockpit. And there's another picture here. Oh, that's in Sana right there. Yeah, that's in Sana. This is flying the Lear jet on a test flight. The Lear jet was flying here for, that was a test flight. And then this is Phnom Penh. I flew there for 6 months, that airline, and that airline is called Khmer Khas. Marilee took those pictures for me. And then over up there is where it says the pennant. That's America's Cup boat. I bought and campaigned the Soliloquy for 2 years. It was one of the first America's Cup boats after they changed from the J class and changed over to 12 meter. And that's the forward air control airplane, the FAC 02B that I ferried over from Wichita to Vietnam. And
That's the twin, sorry, which one?
this one up here,
The
the
twin
Cessna
tail?
337.
Yeah.
It was outfitted with guns, and they used to use it for forward air control. And this is an OV-10, and I used to fly up at the test site.
When you say the test site, you're referring to 51?
Well, the test site is really the whole thing. Area 51 is part of the test site, but I flew in the other part, and what happened is when they'd set off underground nuke tests, they needed a plane up there to get samples of the winds before and after the test went off, so that if it vented, they'd know which way the stuff was going to blow, and also if it vented, to collect samples of what it was. and that was an OV-10. We also had a B-26 and a Beach Volpar and a Huey helicopter that I flew.
What's your opinion about the crop circles that pops up everywhere?
They're very carefully put there by others. I don't know too much about them, but as he will finish this. The top picture is Howard Hughes' crew on the first flight. Then below that is flying a Vampire. And then this picture right here, P-51 Mustang, 1973, Van Nuys, Zuchel gets shot down, and I had borrowed a guy's P-51, that one, and there was an ace of the base there that would continually brag about how good a fighter pilot he was, and we finally got everybody out to be judges, and I took him up. We agreed to meet at 8,000 feet, and I polished him off in about 5 minutes, and so you can't see it well right there, but there's a picture of him with his pants down, and the big Z, his name was Zuchel, and my nickname was Howdy Doody, and so it says, it's Howdy Doody time under there. This is one of the secret airplanes, comes through the atmosphere every once in a while. This is at Kandahar, parked out in front of the runway there. This is my brother, Bill Jr.
And he's a pilot as well?
Yes, he was. He was in the Air Force, stationed in Germany in 52, 53, 54. And then he did all kinds of things, passed away a couple of years ago. You can just take, they're all just a Marilee, so you can just, that's Marilee when she was a starlet when I met her.
That's your better half, as we say.
Right. And that's Soliloquy, the 12 meter.
Is it your sailboat?
Pardon?
Is it yours?
Yeah, it's 72 feet long, and
Where is it?
pardon?
Where do you keep it?
It doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
I sold to a guy who took it to New Zealand and then scrapped it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, we do that in what we call the edit.
Those,
Oh yeah, sorry.
all of those are speed records, diplôme de record by the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, and they're all the speed records I held at one time. A lot of them have been broken, but anyway, I just put them all up there.
That's good.
This is Algiers. I was over there for a couple months in 1986. It was just a lot of fun. It was we were subbing for an airline over there. This is a certificate of achievement for special weapons. I graduated expert. I went through their whole couple of months of courses there just to learn how to use weapons. This is Groom Lake at night. This is the main hangar right there. This is our plane and landing. You can just see that those lights going off, and barely reflected in the lake that carries water every once in a while, and you can see the mountains in the back.
Does that affect the working conditions out there?
What, the water?
Yeah.
No, because it's always on the other side.
All right.
This is a flying saucer taking off from Groom Lake. This was taken by a friend of mine, and you can see the saucer right there, and he's standing outside of this mountain range, and he just saw something out of the corner of his eye and just flicked at the camera, and then we enlarged it and found a real nice saucer, but you can see it's distorted there. And this is Bob.
That's it. Yeah. Bob who?
Bob Lazar, and I just put that picture of him, and then this is a long time ago. That's Marilee giving a kiss behind me. This is Lunar Orbiter 384M. This is a picture of a tower that sits in the middle of the moon as you visually look at it at night, and it's called the Sinus Medii, and that thing stands 7 miles high. There's a tripod. It's all made of a glass type material, and on the top there's a cube. It's 1 mile on each side, and it stands there in the middle of Sinus Medii. And at one time they sent Joe McMoneagle, who was one of the Army's premier remote viewers, to remote view the soul of a guy who had just been killed south of San Francisco. And he followed him towards the moon. And as he said, as he got closer to the moon, in his ears he kept hearing, "This is not your place, you may not come closer, you are not allowed here," until it got so loud that he had to break off the following. But he said that soul was going to the moon. That's when I came up with the idea that was a soul tower, and that was one of the transfer stations that you go through after you die until you get into the lobby, or get into the lobby and shown your past or your good things and the bad things that you've done during your life. This is Buzz Aldrin and me at the 2001 aerospace something, I forget what it was. This is the Buicker that I had the accidental accident in. This is the F-104 that I had a chance to fly in. And these up here, this is all the certificates. When I quit flying, I just put all my licenses up here, and I'm the only guy that has all of them for the FAA, and they're all different ones here. This is airline transport pilot, and this is flight engineer, this is flight navigator, flight instructor, ground instructor, airframe power plant instructor, aircraft dispatcher, senior parachute rigger, and control tower operator. And this we talked about before. The
Yeah,
sticky
we didn't get
went
that
up
on
the
camera.
panel.
Do you want to talk about?
This is the sticky that went up on the above the seats on the 707 when we'd fly the Hajis, and that was to tell them how to use the bathroom, because we didn't want them squatting on it. So we put an X there, and we had them sitting there. And the Saudis who drew this, and those to make it look comfortable for them, they always had cigarettes, so they showed them that they could still have their cigarettes until it was not allowed to have cigarettes on an airplane, and so then they had to X out the cigarettes, so they had to white it out there.
Very practical.
So
And what's the significance of the 747 flying upside down?
that's a 707, and that was taken in 1955, and that's my friend, he was the first test pilot of the 707, and they hadn't sold it yet. They were just in the process of building it, and Boeing management told him to go down to the Seattle boat races and put on a good demonstration. And those are all the boats that were at the races. And this says Sunday, August 7, 1955, Boeing test pilot Tex Johnson rolls the 367-80 over Seattle's Lake Washington. And I got number 9 of 707 copies of this, and Tex signed it. Real honor there.
To roll a 707 before it's really flight certificated, that was a heck of a thing.
No, it's
No?
it's obviously, it's a barrel roll. It doesn't put any extra G's on it. This is the interior of the north face of the Copernicus crater, and this is the one that really set me off exploring the moon, because you can just look at this thing and you can see vapor there spraying up. If you see vapor, it's got to have an atmosphere, because a vapor will not hold together in a vacuum. And there's a vapor, there's a vapor. Up here is a building. You can see it. I mean, it's obviously got 3 or 4 stories. And over here is a, I've got enlargements, all this stuff. Whale excavator, and that dust that's coming out of the top. Here's another bucket wheel excavator. If you really focus into that, you can look at that, and that's a bucket wheel excavator, and it's working its way down that road there. And then there's just all kinds of things on that photo.
And finally, we got about
Where do you want to go?
whatever's.
This is all bullshit stuff. People I knew, places
Yeah.
I flew.
Okay.
These are 3 pictures of the moon. This is the backside, and NASA really they just released a picture of the backside that they said was the beautiful highest technology they had. It's just horrible, but this is what it really looks like. And I got this by hook and by crook, and you can see it's just beautiful, detailed. The contrast, the sharpness of the photo is what can be done, but they don't do it. Did you find her?
She is come back, but she's in the other house. I didn't.
Okay.
Shall I go and knock the door?
Yeah. This is the big picture I showed you. This is Moscow crater. It's on the back side of the moon. A lot of good, interesting stuff there. This is the front side of the moon. This is the view we see, and up there, that bright spot, that's the crater Aristarchus, and that's the 23-mile in diameter nuclear reactor. And the way we can tell it's a nuclear reactor is because it puts out this blue color, and that blue comes from the Cherenkov effect when radiation hits normal air.
Therefore, saying there's air there.
Therefore saying that it's a nuclear reactor.
And air.
And air, yeah. And air. This is the Tonopah test range, and that's where the F-117 was kept at the beginning of the program. It's now used for several secret programs. This is the F-19 I told you about. This is the interior, this is the cockpit of the A-12, which was the forerunner of the YF-12A, which was the forerunner of the SR-71. This was a single-place Blackbird, and this is the artist rendition of the F-19, and this is a photo taken out of the shuttle of one of the new pop stab dethermalizer.
What's the pop stab again, just briefly?
That's when the wing fold and come up, and it can just go like this all the way to the ground. Instead of making a re-entry at 18,000 miles an hour, they can just float down. And these wings, this is an intermediate position. The two positions are out, so it can fly like an airplane, and the other is up like that, so it can just float down with no forward airspeed, and the other is completely tucked in, so it can be launched like a rocket.
Well, exactly that question was the one we wanted to ask.
Well, I think that's almost end of tape here. And any little final thing here?
No, it's all this people I know.
That's good stuff. Very proud. Anything here?
That was Longchin. That was the most secret CIA base in Laos that we flew out of. This is me with General Vang Bao, the guy that we supported. This is my congressional commendation for flying in Laos. That's me with G. Gordon Liddy. I'm not sure if you know him, but he
This
signed,
guy?
Yeah. He was one of the White House plumbers, and he signed the
What's a
mixed up in-
plumber?
Oh, I remember him.
the guy that was mixed up in Watergate.
Oh, right.
And he's the one that signed that picture and says, John, I told him fucking nothing, G. Gordon Liddy. Did you talk to Marilyn about doing it?
She says no. We should have told her so she had time to put on makeup and stuff.
What do we do to protect ourselves from the devilish things happening to ourselves here?
You wear a tinfoil hat, but it has to be official. You can get official John Lear one.
Yeah.
You can buy others.
Not just any old hat. It's got to
No.
be an official one.
No, it should be. This one is tested by Bob Lazar, who's done all the nuclear testing and chemical testing on this, and he
My
does
God.
absolutely recommend this one. There are others on the market, but they
But they can't possibly be as effective as these
absolutely not. And the way you can tell, it's official. Some just say nothing, John Lear, but it's got to be official, John Lear, and then tinfoil hat. And then you look in the side there.
Yes.
The great thing about this that you can't do with any others is pop popcorn and brew tea.
These are, of course, survival things that you've got to do after the.
Yeah.
So
That's
this is
what you can
really
use it for.
important.
Absolutely. But you can only do that with an official John Lear tinfoil hat.
My God. You are now fully protected and safe,
Absolutely.
and the rest of us here are in mortal danger.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
My
John.
pleasure.
John Lear,
Yeah.
could you play us out a basis, please?